All right, so we're picking up where we left off yesterday for part 2. I have worked a couple more problems. Number 27, we solved the inequality. We combined like terms. Then we wrote the inequality with the variable first, but notice it was open towards the x on the right side, and it's still opening up towards the x when I switch it around, and then I just keep solving. 29, I found the value of the ratio by dividing the top number by the bottom number. And then I keep going. I wrote the first two equivalent ratios. Can anybody give me the third one? The third equivalent ratio, I say 25 to 1/3. That's my first one. 50 to 2/3 is my second one. Does anybody know what my third one would be, Isla?
75 to 1.
Yeah, 75 to 1. Okay. Now remember, you can write these ratios with a colon. You can write them as a fraction or with the word to. Okay. And then what would be my fourth equivalent ratio for number 29, Jack?
100 to 4/3.
Yep, 100 to 4/3. Okay. All right, so now we're on 31. It says find the unit rate. I know I can find the unit rate by dividing the first quantity by the second quantity. It's okay that they are different units. Well, when I divide it, I must go by my rule of dividing fractions by flipping that second ratio. And then what ends up happening is I get cross-reducing, works out to 2.5. 5 over 2 is equivalent to 2.5. If you said 2 and 1/2, even if you said 5 over 2, 5 over 2 probably needs to be expressed as 2.5. And then ounces per pint. So I know that it's 5/8 of an ounce per quarter pint, but to figure out how much for 1 whole pint, that's how I found my answer, 2.5 ounces per pint. All right, let's do number 33. I have 8 over 12 equals 2/3 over 1. That's a little weird, isn't it? It's like a fraction over a fraction. We call it a complex fraction, okay? But my rule is still the same. It says tell whether they form a proportion. Proportion right here gives it away that I must do cross products. Cross products help me tell whether or not it forms a proportion. 8 times 1 is easy. What's 8 times 1?
8.
8, okay. Now I have to do 12 times 2/3. If 12 times 2/3 is 8, then I'm good to go. This is a proportion. What do you get when you multiply 12 times 2/3?
8.
Okay. Did anybody cross-reduce this?
Yes.
1 to 4, okay. Even if you didn't, 12 times 2 is 24, divided by 3 is 8. You're still going to get the same thing. All right, so 8 equals 8. Sure is a proportion. Now, if they work out and they're different numbers, what if I had said 8 equals 10? Is that a proportion? Nope. Okay, so it's as easy as that. Just cross products and then yes or no. All right, let's do number 34. 7 over b plus 5 equals 10 over 5. All right, so I need to solve this proportion. There's 3 methods, but especially in this case, which method am I going to want to use? Definitely cross products, okay? I can't do mental math. Sort of maybe could do mental math, but not really the way that we learned. I would just go with cross products just to be on the safe side. 7 times 5. That one's pretty simple. Now the challenging part is 10 times b plus 5. Okay? I can't add b plus 5 together. They're not like terms. So now I have to distribute and then solve. Your answer will be a decimal. I would probably leave it a decimal, not a fraction in this case. We don't really want a complex fraction here. Right, so 10b plus 50 equals 35. Did you subtract 50 from both sides? Okay. And then 10b divided by 10, I got negative 1.5. Did you guys get negative 1.5? Okay. And half of 7 is 3.5. And negative 1.5 plus 5 is 3.5. Okay, so even though it's a decimal, I can go back and see that it does work out. All right, how are we doing, guys? Doing okay? We're just kind of like trudging through the problems right now. Okay, so number 39. Hey, here's an old friend.
There we go.
Uh-oh. Blue screen. Okay. Something must have disconnected from my computer. All right, don't worry. Let's just work number 39 next, and I'll get the screen back up. Okay, so on number 39, it says 250 is what percentage of 400? So 250, is that my A, is that my W, or is that my P?
P.
What? No,
Wait,
what
what?
percentage? Number 39. 250 is my A. 400 is my W. Equals P over 100. You guys still working it? All right, go ahead and finish.
Do you have to put?
All right, so cross products and divide. I got 62.5%. Anybody else get 62.5%? Did you guys get that? 62.5? Okay, I feel like I'm kind of catching up to y'all, like where you are in the review sheet. Okay, how many of you have already done number 41? Has anybody already done number 41? Okay, so we're kind of at a break-even point. All right, so I'm gonna kind of pause. We're gonna do 41. We're gonna do 43. I'm going to do number 46. Okay, let's try to do those three problems, 41, 43, and 46. Those are the ones I'm about to work. Okay, so we're going to pause for several minutes now and kind of work through those three problems, and then we'll go over them.
We have to use our notes.
Going to change. The formula is P equals AOC over ORG. How do I calculate the amount of change? Yeah, subtracting the original amount minus the new amount. It doesn't matter, like, if we don't want a negative, we're just subtracting the two numbers, okay? So when I subtract those two numbers, what do I get? 60. And I divide by the original amount. How much is the original amount? 140. That gives me a percentage that is not an even percentage. It's like 42.4285 or something like that. So go out 4 decimal places. Here, I'll change it to this to help you. It was, remind me, 60 I subtracted, the original minus the new. You have to take the amount of change, 140 minus 80. So I get 0.4, remind me again because I don't have it on my calculator. 4285. Remember, you go out 4 decimal places and you round to the 3rd decimal place, so it's about 42.9%. Okay? You don't have to worry about me like on the midterm. I'm not going to say 43%, 42.9%. It will be obvious which one is your answer. All right, now, don't say this is your answer. That could be a choice. That's not the percent, though. The percent of change is 42.9. And now we also have to say whether it's an increase or a decrease. Do you guys remember? Yeah, it's a decrease. All right, so I just need to rewrite that. All right, so it is a decrease, and you can abbreviate DEC for decrease. All right, number 43. Okay, so number 43. It says, let me read the question. Okay, sorry, I just lost my spot on the review sheet. Okay, number 43, it says a skateboard is originally $175 and it has been marked up by 70%. What is the retail price? If you remember back to this lesson, we used A equals P times W as the framework for solving this problem. Do you guys remember, does A stand for the new price or the original price? Does anybody remember?
A stands for the new price.
Yep, A is the new price, W is the original price. Now, to find new price, there are 2 ways I can do it. Okay? 2 ways I can find new price. To find the original price, there's really only 1 way. Now, original price is not on this review sheet, but it will be on our review on Friday. Okay? There's another review sheet that's more condensed that I'm giving you tomorrow. So for today, we're going to focus on new price. All right? So it says it's originally $175. Where do I plug that into my formula? Do I plug in 175 for A, or do I plug it in for W? Yes, W, because it's the original price. Now, this is the way that I'm going to teach you, because this is the way to find original price. What is the percentage that you paid for that product? Okay? You paid 170%. You say, well, it was a 70% markup. That means that you paid 170% of the original price. Because if you remember, guys, 100% of something is that number. That's not a markup, and that's not a discount. That is the original amount. So if you paid a markup, that means you paid 170% of that amount. Does that make sense? So what if it was a 70% discount? How much did you pay?
30%.
You paid 30%. If it was a 70% discount, then you would plug in 0.3. Okay? So if you can remember that, guys, P here is the percent that you paid. Okay? Not the actual number. If you remember that, then solving for original price is a breeze. Okay? If you try to say, well, I just found 70% of the original and then I added it, it works for new price, but it doesn't work for original price. Okay? So this method works both ways. A equals, does everybody understand why I plugged in 1.7?
Yeah.
Because 170% is what I paid, decimal version 1.7, and I paid $297.50. All right? How did you do on that? Okay, because you're going to do one on your own that's due on Friday. Okay? All right, number 46. Does anybody remember? Say it with me if you remember the formula for simple interest. I equals PRT. What does P stand for?
Principal.
Interest.
Principal. Principal. That's a question on your midterm. What does P stand for in the formula?
Principal.
And guess what one of your choices is? Percentage. Is P percentage? No. R is the percent. R is the rate. P is principal. Okay? I equals PRT. Try to plug in the numbers where they go in your formula. Okay, so I equals, I don't know the interest. Principal was $1,200. Did everybody plug in $1,200 for P?
Yes.
The principal is my initial amount, either borrowed or invested. What did you plug in for R? 0.05. 0.05. Remember, 0.5 would be 50%. Now, that would be great, but it's not 50. It's 5%. 0.05 times 4. So 1,200 times 0.05 times 4 is $240. This will be an option for your answer on your midterm. Is this the correct answer?
Yes. Wait, no.
What did it ask me? What is the balance after 4 years? Your balance is not $240. This will be one of your choices. Now, obviously, it's different numbers on your test. What is your final balance? Add it back to the original amount. Now, the letter A just stands for final balance. You don't have to know that, but I want to use the correct variable, okay? Which is A. I don't know why A stands for final balance, but it does. Okay? All right, so that's number 46. Now let's do number 50 and 52. We're into probability now. Okay? Now, on your midterm, guys, I combined this on your review sheet, but on your midterm, you have a section for experimental probability and a section for theoretical. Okay? I just combined it on your review sheet to kind of condense it a little bit. So we are doing a comparison, but more importantly, we're practicing both types of probability. Again, they will be different sections on your midterm. Okay? So please find the experimental probability, all right, based on the results that are in the table of spinning an even number and theoretical probability of spinning an even number. For experimental probability, I need a total. How many times was this spinner spun according to the directions? 300 times. How many times was an even number spun? Well, how many even numbers are on the spinner? 2. So how many times was a 2 spun? 43. How many times was a 4 spun? 37. So what do you need to do with those two numbers? Add them together. That's how I got 80. Okay? So that's how I got 80 out of 300. And that's how I got 26.7%. Okay? Did y'all get 26.7% on that? 80 out of 300. Then for theoretical, when I divide, the probabilities are not close to each other. Okay? All right, so we're going to keep working. We'll time out here. We'll work these last couple problems in the last part. All right? I will see you guys tomorrow.